Hey there everybody, it's Mike DiLisio, and today I'm going to be reviewing Gangster, coming from designer Thorsten Gimler and publisher Plate Games. Gangster was originally released in 2007, and it has since been reprinted and in this L-board configuration from Korean publisher Plate. This designer is probably best known for his card game No Thanks. Gangster is an area majority game set in Chicago. Let's head over to the table, I'll show you how the game plays, we'll come back here and I'll let you know what I think. Gangster is part of publisher Plate Games' L-board line, which means that the box itself folds open to become the board. Let me show you what this looks like once it's all set up. Alright, here we see a 3-player game set up for Gangster. At the beginning of the game, you're going to seed the board with these district tiles. Randomly, there are some that don't show up in every game. You're just going to shuffle the whole stack and 5 will be left out. And then each player is going to start with their car in one of the districts and one of their gangsters, and then in another district they'll have a second one of their gangsters, and that's done by drawing cards off the top of this deck, which has the different regions in them. You're also going to flip over a card to find your first doubler token, and you will place it on the icon in the appropriate spot. Gangster is an area majority game, and what you're trying to do is get the most of your gangsters in the districts in such a way that you score the most points. The way scoring works on the districts is that you're going to look along the top, and it's going to tell you the number of points that you're going to get for whatever place you have majority-wise on these squares. The first gangster always goes on that arrow, and then it's going to proceed across. So when this is telling you that whoever has the majority of cubes in this area is going to get 6 points normally, but since there's a doubler there, it'll actually be 12 points, second place, third, and fourth. In a tiebreaker situation, you want to be furthest from this arrow. The farther along you are on here, that's going to break the ties, okay? And so that's the general idea on how you want to score these majorities. On your turn, you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to drive or you're going to load or unload gangsters, okay? So you start with a number of your gangsters in your car. You have a random upgrade that has been placed there, and you have your 3 movement cards that show 1, 2, and 3. When you use a movement card, you have to go the exact number of spaces that the card says, okay? And so let's say that the blue player is first. The 2 things they can do is flip over one of these cards and move the appropriate number of spaces. You can see the districts are outlined in these thick red lines with the roads in between them. And so the blue player started in the loop, all right? If they wanted to load or unload, the only thing they can do would be to load their own gangster up, which they could do, and place them back into their car. If you are to load an opponent's gangster into your car, let's say that he had gone over here and then on a subsequent turn is going to load gangsters, this is an opponent's gangster and it would go in their trunk. At the beginning of the game, you can only start with 1 gangster in your truck, although there is an upgrade you can get that will allow you to have up to 2. All right? So let's say in this case they're going to move. So they would choose one of their movement cards and they would move the according number of spaces. Let's say that maybe they wanted to get over here, maybe put more of their gangsters up there, so they would move 1, and now they're in the north side, and that would end their turn. On a subsequent turn, what they could then do would be to place another one of their gangsters here, trying to really push for the majority in this high-scoring district. All right? Players are going to continue to do this, moving around the board, flipping over their movement cards, depending upon the number of spaces that they want to go, loading and unloading gangsters as they go. If, as I mentioned before, you do have an opponent's gangster in your truck, on future turns, if you move to the Gold Coast, then what you have the option to do is to take any gangsters that are in your truck and throw them in Lake Michigan. They are out for the rest of the game. The other thing that you have to do when you stop at the Gold Coast is get an upgrade. So let's say that the blue player had gone there, they had dropped off an opponent's gangster in the lake, and they wanted to get one of these upgrades. Well, they could not get this bodyguard upgrade because they already have one. You start with, or you have only 2 spots for upgrades in your car, and you can never have the same one twice. So maybe they're going to take this Tommy gun. When you take one, if there's one in the leftmost spot, you slide it to the right and you place it in there. If they were to get a future one, this would slide away and it would be out for the rest of the game. All right, what do these do? Well, there's a card here that shows you what all of these different upgrades do. The bumper lets you bump another car out to an adjacent spot when you come into a district. Tommy gun lets you get a gangster from an adjacent district to put in your trunk. The door lets you place up to 2 gangsters from your car onto a district instead of normally only 1. The bodyguard protects you. You cannot be affected by other players where your car is at, and that includes by the Tommy gun. The trunk allows you to put 2 gangsters in your trunk, and the engine lets you move 1 district further than your movement card allows. And that's the only way that you can come and end up in the same district where you started. Normally, you cannot do that. When you move, you can't revisit districts in the same movement action. You can't end up where you started before. If you have this engine upgrade and you choose to move 4, you're able to do that. All right? So this is going to continue until players have flipped over their last movement card. Once that happens, once any player has flipped over their 3rd movement card, what's going to happen is they'll draw a card from the top of this deck. And it's going to tell you, actually that card was already drawn at the beginning of the game, to put that Cicero there. Different card, south side. Now what this is saying is you're going to take one of these doublers and you're going to place it in that district. Once this has happened a number of times where people have flipped them, and once you do that, you flip your cards back over. Putting out more of these tokens, if you get a policeman, you just ignore placing a token, so you never know exactly when the end of the round is going to happen. Once 8 of these have come out, 8 of these doubler tokens have come out, then that's going to trigger the Day of Reckoning, which is essentially the end of the round. You're going to evaluate all of the districts for their scoring, and again, taking into account any doublers, and some cases, first place isn't going to give you the most points. It all is going to depend on the district. Also, you'll see that some of these district tiles have question marks on them. When you see those, you flip over the top of this casino deck, it's going to have a number of points, and that is going to be the number of points for all of the question marks for that round. You do all the scoring, you put them on the appropriate spots on the scoring track, and then that's going to be the end of the round. You're going to reset the board by taking off the doubler tokens and putting out a new one. None of the other gangsters are going to come off the board, and you're going to go through 3 rounds. After 3 rounds, whoever has the most points is going to be the most successful gangster. Let's head back up and I'll let you know what I think. All right, so there you see Gangster. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this is an older game, 2017, and it was originally in a larger box. It was a regular sized area majority Euro game, and one of the things that this publisher, Plate from South Korea, does is they'll take older games and they'll usually put them in a smaller kind of form factor, boxes this size and even smaller. It's one of the things they've been doing since the beginning of them being in business. And so this is a game that I had not been familiar with before. I had not played this. I played a couple of other games from this designer. I mentioned No Thanks. I also played a racing game he designed called Odin's Ravens, a 2-player game that I always liked. But this one was new to me. So first thing, just talking about that production, that is unique about this is this L board. And this is one of the games where you have kind of 2 boards that are going to kind of magnetically stick together. I think it works very well here. I think the other components in the game are perfectly nice. Cardboard, not the thickest, but it doesn't need to be. Cubes, nothing special, nothing fancy, but again, you're getting it in a small size and in a smaller price than you might have otherwise as well. So no real complaints at all about the production. The art is minimalistic, but it's fine. I think it suits the game very well. Speaking of the game, so Gangster is a game that is very mean, okay? That's something you need to know going in. It is a game where your plans are going to be thwarted. You're going to be fighting it out, a lot of direct interaction with other players, and it's going to be negative interaction. You're going to have your gangsters being taken and thrown into trunks and then being dumped into the lake. Mean. You're going to be in a position where you think you've got a district locked down, someone's going to come in and they're going to do something that kind of changes your plans, something you weren't expecting, something you couldn't quite account for. And so you have to know going in that this is a game with a lot of direct negative interaction, and your opinion on that type of gameplay, I think, will have a lot to do with what your enjoyment level is for the game. For me, the theme helps with this tremendously. If this had been themed in an innocuous type of way where you would not necessarily expect for there to be direct negative interaction, I think that could hurt it. But this is a game about gangsters. I mean, this is what you expect. You expect that you're going to be fighting it out for territory, that people might get thrown into the back of a trunk and then dumped into a river or a lake. So I think the theme really helps with the game itself. I think that the very simplified rule set also helps in this game. You don't have to get bogged down into a lot. It is very much a concentrated area majority experience. On your turn, you're either moving your car around the city or you're picking up or dropping off gangsters in those different districts. Very simple. The only real twist to that you have are the upgrades, which are great. I think that the upgrades all feel pretty powerful. Some might feel more powerful than others situationally. I mean, it's always nice to be able to drop off 2 of your gangsters into a district, but sometimes having a bodyguard can be extremely important when you have an area that you need to protect. And so they all, I think, do neat things. They're not hard to remember. They all kind of make sense. The only other kind of twists are going to be that you don't necessarily know exactly when a round is going to end, so having those policeman cards in there adds a little bit of lack of information, limited information in a game that otherwise it's pretty much all out there on the table. And so I like that. Where the doublers show up, or the double districts show up, can be huge, right? Because obviously you want to be in as many of those double districts as you can at the end of each round. And so all of that, I think, is really satisfying. If you like area majority, especially if you like ones with direct interaction, this has a very simple rule set. It's not hard to learn. It's not hard to teach. It plays in a very reasonable amount of time. If you don't like that type of a game, if you don't like area majority, or you don't like direct negative interaction, do not go near this game because you're not going to like it. For me, it's not my favorite type of game. I don't necessarily love direct interaction, getting my stuff messed up. But it works in the context of this game because I kind of know what I'm getting going in. And so I'm going to be giving Gangster a 7.5. I think it does a lot of things well. It's just not a game that I'll come back to tremendously often just because area majority is not my favorite genre. But for what it does it very well. And so that's why it's one that I can easily recommend. So there you have it. That is Gangster. This is Mike DiLisio, and I'll see you on the next one.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.